Our News on Terror segment tonight, Kathy Griffin held a press conference this morning where she claimed to be the victim of bullying from the Trump family. Never mind that Griffin thought it would be cool to pose for a picture with President Trump's severed head covered in blood. She didn't care how disturbing that was. But those who have defended our nation know what it's really like to see real beheadings, and they know it's no laughing matter. With me now, author of The Terrorist Whisperer, Hamady Jassim. Hamady, thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being with you today.
All right, Hamady, this is not an easy topic to talk about, not the Kathy Griffin aspect, I guess, but the fact that you fought for our country, you were in the midst of these radical Islamist terrorists, you've seen actual beheadings. I mean, I hate to ask you this question in a sense, but what's that like?
It's really a horrible scene to be reminded of, or it's a very hard, disgusting style that's been used by Al-Qaeda and ISIS, Islamic State in Iraq. And it's not one of the most, it's not something to joke about, especially people who have lost members of their families. Many people in Iraq and Syria have lost members of their families to beheadings. People who have lost members of their families cannot watch anything like that, whether it's trying to make a joke or not. It's not something to make fun of. It's not something made for comedy. That's the bottom line of it.
No, it's not. I mean, the fact that someone thought it was is mind-boggling to me, but it's not. It's not a joke. And your job, if you don't mind me asking, your job when you were in the midst of this, sometimes that involved you having to be with the families of those who were victims of beheadings, and you had to be with the families while they actually identified their dead loved ones without their head. I mean, that is hard for me to even wrap my mind around, that you could do that.
I mean, talk even about harder situations is that picking up the body and taking it to the family, it's just another level of how hard you have to deal with it. That people cannot take a look at something like that. Even as myself, as a fighter who spent many years fighting against these terrorists in the battlefield, I will have a moment when I'll break down myself where I cannot look at certain things. What happened with Kathy Griffin was really disgusting. There was no excuse for it because she's an adult. She knows what's right and wrong. This is not something to make a joke off, whether you like the president or not. At the end of the day, the president is a father. He has a young son that's out there, probably have access to the internet. You could never do something like that and claim this was made for a joke or comedy. Nobody in the world joke about certain things like that. And you're benefiting ISIS and terrorist organizations who promote that kind of actions. So this is not just any joke. This is not something we can just slip off because an apology. This is something disgusting. And as myself, as I have family members and many of my friends who got captured alive by the enemy and end up getting beheaded, it hurts my guts to see that someone out there making fun of it. And not just that, it also making fun of the president of their own country.
Right. No, I mean, I can't even imagine. I appreciate you having the courage to speak out. I can see that it's difficult for you, and I think you're doing a good thing by doing it. I mean, in a sense, it's not just disrespectful. I mean, it is disrespectful, but that's not the only thing. It's dangerous, too, because making light of this type of atrocity, that's exactly what the Islamic State wants us to do.
It's exactly right. I mean, the Islamic State goal is not only to fight us in Iraq and Syria. Their goal today is a lot longer than Al-Qaeda goal. Their goal is to fight us here in our homeland in America. And not just putting their troops here on the ground, they're also trying to put their ideology in the ground. And that's the most dangerous part about these ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all these terrorist organizations that we've been fighting in the last few years, that they want to put their ideology here before they put soldiers in the ground. And promoting a picture like that, it actually promotes the ideology of the enemy. It promotes exactly what the enemy is about. And this is coming out of an American citizen is something that a very surprising thing. And I challenged her, you know, in one of my articles that got posted yesterday, I challenged her to take her to Iraq and have her do that in front of a family that lost a member by beheading to ISIS.
Right. I mean,
her there.
Right, I don't think she could do it. I hope that she wouldn't do it, because I hope she wouldn't be able to deal with it, because nobody should be able to do it. But just to touch on your ideology comment for a second, it's not just that beheading is part of their ideology, it's the fact. I mean, it goes even into the political nitty-gritty a little bit, I think, because the ideology of ISIS is that if you don't agree with someone, if they're saying something that offends you, if you don't like them, it's okay to brutalize them. That's essentially what Kathy Griffin's joke was saying. She doesn't like President Trump, and that's fine. She's allowed not to like him. She's an American, and we do have free speech here. She doesn't like him. She doesn't like her politics, and therefore she's saying through this joke he deserves this type of brutal punishment.
To be honest with you, that if you look into the style of fighting that ISIS has been using in the last few years, in Iraq specifically, through my experience, that ISIS, their biggest weapon today they use in the world is not a military weapon. It's a media propaganda. And this is what they use. They use their media propaganda. They put fear in people's hearts, trying to show people that if you do not agree with me, this is what would happen to you. And this is something very similar to it. Something similar that what she did, it was, you do not like the president or you do not agree with him. There was many different ways of disagreeing with the president. I mean, I saw her press conference today, and it was one of the most ridiculous things I ever seen. I didn't even see tears. I saw someone crying, but there was not even real tears coming out of her face. Through my job working in the intelligence sector, through my whole entire life, you can immediately see her rolling her eyes, and she's taken this, and now I was expecting her to come out and apologize to the president and family. You do not need to apologize to the American people. You need to apologize to the president and family, not to come out in a conference and attack him personally and attack his family again. That's not the way democracy works. And we're not going to be here sitting watching her benefiting the enemy or delivering. I mean, who doesn't like Donald Trump right now? ISIS doesn't like Donald Trump. He's been hitting them really hard. And who are you benefiting? And who's getting the benefit of this?
I mean, to use your words, which I think you put it very aptly, she's speaking the language of terrorists, and no American citizen should stoop to that level. Hamady, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.